welcome, George.
How are we doing?
Very well, sir. Welcome to Chasing the Sun. Taken a while to get you in. You've been a busy boy. Been jet setting around the world, rubbing shoulders with some of the biggest names in personal development. I guess we should start from the beginning and just do a little bit of backstory on how we know each other and how we connected. Obviously, I share my journey every day on Instagram, something called Chasing the Sun. Ironically, the podcast is Chasing the Sun with, and the premise is capturing my journey of escaping the 9 to 5, my desire to build assets and build a personal brand, to leverage myself out of traditional employment, working 40 hours for 40 years, and start to live my best life now. So I've been interviewing people that have got businesses, personal trainers, people that are doing something out of the ordinary, and allowing them to live their lives now. You yourself, you're a business owner.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and what's your business?
So I own a construction company, and we do commercial and residential developments, and we've also got a land investment platform as well, where we source big strategic sites.
Wow.
For big residential units. So we act as an agent, but then I also have my construction company on a day-to-day basis, where we carry out big commercial and residential developments, refurbs, and yeah, it's exciting. I really do enjoy it, but also I've got a massive passion for consciousness and self-discovery and the journey and why we're here and what is the deeper understanding to why we're here.
Yeah, and that really came across the first time I met you, me and your friend Connor. We went for a walk over Hampstead Heath, went to see the sunrise. Unfortunately, there was no sun, and you know, I learned so much from you in that half an hour we spent together, and I was right, it would be a fantastic day. And it's really inspiring, because I'm not sure how many people know that you kind of locked arms with another two people in the personal development space. Off camera, I likened it to the Avengers of personal development, which I think would be a really a good description of what you guys are doing, and it's really inspiring to see. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I connected with a guy called Matt Saltus and another girl called Jennifer Evans, and we're all connected along the same lines. We've all got the same huge interest about self-discovery, about transcending and consciousness, but yet we've all got our own unique vision of how we approach it. And Jennifer's very concentrated on the brain, whereas I'm sort of concentrated on the mind, body, soul connection, self-discovery, and Matt's really focused upon wealth creation and applying the whole conscious outlook into that whole program about developing it. So yeah.
Cool. And from, I mean, how did you become a business owner? How did you? Because the recurring theme on the program so far has that it's, you know, a lot of the business owners. The last guest was a musician. She came from a family of musicians. Is that something? You come from a family of business owners?
Yeah, I mean, my dad's in construction, so I mean, I was a carpenter by trade. So I started off on the tools and just developed and, you know, built up something slowly, and then eventually when I set up my own company on my own accord, and then just grew it.
Wow.
And then just, along the sides of that, I just had a huge passion for personal development and travelling and different cultures, religion, and, you know, why we're here. You know, there's got to be a bigger reason than we just sort of rock up, like we start a business, like we have kids, we have a mortgage, you know, and then we go like, what's that all about? Like, what is the deeper understanding?
When did them questions start first posing themselves to you, though, George? Because it's not that those sort of things might never occur to a person in their entire lifetime. So is there like a specific?
Yeah, and I'm really impressed that you got that so young. Because how old are you?
28.
Yeah, exactly. 28. So I didn't start having those thoughts until I reached 30, discovered Kabbalah, got into spirituality, where you've had it a lot. You know, you've been into this stuff for a few years.
Yeah. I mean, so
and where did that come from?
Everyone's on the same. We're all on the same road, but we're going at different speeds. So we're all on this journey together, but some of us are just going at different paces. That's the way I see it. And, you know, at certain points in our lives, we start getting these questions, and it's like a something just scratching away in the back of your head, and you're like, you know, what is it I'm searching for? Or some people may have severe contrast, you know, something really bad happened to them, you know, and they just, you know, and it just, what that enables you to do is dig deep and look for these answers. And that's when people start to do this inner work and start to discover a lot more about life and why we're here, instead of being caught up in this system about, you know, what we're doing, how we're living in other people's values, or we're living in other people's projections, or we're judging ourselves, or we're judging ourselves through the eyes of others.
Yeah.
You know, there's all this social idealism going on about how we should live, and and everyone gets caught up in that trap.
Yeah.
So you're not really doing what you want to do, and you're doing, you know, you might even do a job that you think that's good paying, but you're just doing it just for the money.
Yeah.
So even then, you're never truly going to excel in that, because it's not in your highest values.
Yeah.
So it's scientifically proven, when you're living life in your highest values, congruently, blood glucose and oxygen hits the neofrontal cortex, which is what we call the executive centre, which where we carry out our strategies, protocols, systems, and this is something that, you know, we like to do. We just find it naturally, and it just happens.
Yeah.
But that just happens, and you don't give it with any thought, because it's in your highest values. You're owning it. You love it, and there's an actual chemical reaction happening in the brain that's allowing you to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why you find that easy. You know, and that's why some people struggle in certain areas, because you've not adapted that into your highest values. You've not linked it. So I believe success is a science in psychology.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
And how, I mean, was there a turning point for you where you then started looking at your own actions? Did, you know, a lot of people have to hit rock bottom. I remember when I discovered spirituality, you know, I was at my lowest ebb. I didn't really know, and like you, I started having those questions. There's got to be something more. Is this it? You know, and you know, and there was a turning point for me where I was just like, you know, I have to change. I don't know how, and I don't know where, and I don't know. And then I started to, you know, learn more about alternative ways of thinking. And then for me, it was just a complete game changer.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we live in a world now where information is so accessible. We can go on our phones. We got information at the click of a button, and it's so powerful. But it's in the way we use it. You know, for example, social media. Everyone's saying it's bad. I don't believe it's bad. I believe it's the way we use it. Social media is an extremely powerful tool. It connects you to the right people if you use it in the right way. You know, you can build your brand. You can find out loads of information. Like, it's just got such good benefits if used in the right way.
Yeah.
And
it just accentuates who we are.
Yeah.
You know, and it is. You're right. You're either going to be airing your dirty laundry, for example, or you can use it, you know, to better yourself.
Exactly. And I think there's certain people now that are waking up to the idea, you know, with the information that's so accessible, and, you know, people looking on Instagram or people following certain people, and there are people that are starting to speak out about this stuff, and it's making people, you know, look at themselves and, you know, question themselves. So there is definitely a rise in consciousness. There is a shift. There is a movement going on. But for me personally, I've always been different to a sense. I mean, I believe it's down to the education system. I never conformed, and that's because I was dyslexic, so I was never fed, you know, all the bullshit that we're taught at school, how to read, how to get a job. So I never had that program uploaded, which left my mind open for searching for other answers in different areas. And, you know, I've travelled a lot as well, and I think travelling was a huge part of, you know, me understanding, you know, what is actually out there, what is life.
Yeah.
And I think when you travel, you sort of come back and you think, God, there's a whole world out there, all these different peoples, cultures, places. You know, what is it all about? What is it all about? And then, you know, for me, 21 was the real sort of turning point where I just sort of went all in, and I looked at different religions, cultures. I tried meditation, yoga, diets. I went over to Peru and I spent time with the shamans.
Wow.
Where it was probably one of the most profound experience. So that was, I probably started with the personal development, meditation, and just, you know, took to books and the internet and research. And then that led me to a point where, you know, I was sort of over in Peru, and it led me to, you know, the research. What I've been doing is, you know, to try and break through this physical reality, because we're only governed by this physical reality, and we're only kept here by our five senses. Touch, taste, and that's how we identify everything. Right? But what's beyond the five senses? right? What's beyond? So as far as I'm concerned, this is just an illusion. It's just a program that's been uploaded. So when you was born and your mum held you a ball and she said, oh, that colour ball's blue, what's she doing? She's uploading the program. You're in a theta state when you're born, so you're constantly processing and absorbing everything. You're taking that data in the same way as you upload a program into the computer. You're doing it to a child, but you could tell that baby or that child that blue ball was actually yellow, and he'd identify it as that. Why? Because it's the information that you've been given.
Yeah.
So it's how that he then perceives his reality as that. See, he sees a car that's blue, he actually might think it's yellow.
Yeah.
But it's your perception. It's all about how you perceive reality.
Yeah.
And we all know that whatever you perceive in here creates in the physical. So yeah, after going...
So you went to Peru, and we spoke about an experience before when we got together. Are you happy to talk about that?
Yeah. Which one was
The
it?
ayahuasca.
The ayahuasca, yeah, absolutely. So
because that's what helps you break through.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, since doing that, I've found different ways of doing it.
Oh really?
But for me, I wanted to have the full experience of where you leave this physical vessel and you fully go into the essence. You go out into the quantum field and connect to the divine, God, cosmic intelligence, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I like explaining it in quantum mechanics and quantum physics, which is the science behind it, which I'll go a bit into in a minute. But you basically, you leave this physical vessel, you go beyond the five senses, and you connect to the infinite realm of intelligence.
Wow.
And it was just a profound experience, because when you come back, you understand how everything how this whole fundamental reality is made up, what it's made up of, what's the structure.
That's really interesting, because Kabbalah, that's exactly what they teach. They say that they call the physical the 1% reality, and the quantum field, as you call it, the 99% reality. And they say that when you can see beyond the curtain and you can connect to that, then that's you can you can become infinite.
Absolutely, yeah.
Amazing.
You can become infinite, and that's all about doing the inner work and rewiring your subconscious program, which stops you from becoming your true self. And that's down to social idealism, the system that we live in, the conditioning from your parents, trauma, schooling, all this sort of stuff is bred you in a sort of way where you're living in fear, because you're either minimizing yourself, or you're either judging yourself through the eyes of others, or you're either shaming ourselves. So and we've constantly got this program running, whether you like it or not. People try to break through.
It's the default system, right?
Yeah, this is the trouble with like all this sort of positive psychology. Oh, you've got to be positive all the time, and no,
there's no way you can be.
There's no ups with no downs. It's not how it works. A book has a front and a back.
It's like we are what we continually are. We always,
there is light and dark, but the trouble is, what we do is we decide to judge whether that's good or bad, right or wrong. Who are we to judge?
No, of course.
And if you can get to a state where you're not judging, and you're in a constant high vibration and allowing, but with clear intentions, and you understand what your core values are and what your highest values are, and live to that, that's when you'll find your journey becomes a lot easier. You start connecting with the right people, the right situation starts happening. But in order for that to happen, a lot of people don't understand that you've got to go in and you've got to address your subconscious mind, which I call the inner work. And there's a science behind it, and it's called neuroplasticity, and it's rewiring your subconscious mind, your imbalanced perceptions, your memories and anti-memories, which carry emotional charges. Now,
and that affects how you operate and how you would see certain situations.
Absolutely. Wow. And also it's down.
It's almost like PTS, where post-traumatic trauma. Where if you've experienced something before, then So it was interesting. My son the other day, I think he fell off a trampoline, and he said, when I said, "Oh, should we go to the trampoline park?" Because he'd fell off the trampoline the week earlier, he was like, "Oh no, well I might fall off and da da da." But the last time we went to the trampoline park, it was all positive. But because he had that fall, he was assuming the worst. It's that trauma had then changed his kind of.
You rewired it. You rewired his belief system. That's what it is. You can call it neuroplasticity, you can call it subconscious, you can call it beliefs, whatever, but eventually the more work you start doing, and when you start to neutralise these emotional charges, you'll find that you'll have a fully equilibrated mind. And when you do that, that's when you start to connect to source, right? And this is when you're living in a state of flow, attracting the right situations, circumstances, because what we've got to understand is everything in life, what we create in this physical, we create in the mind first. It happens here. So everything in this whole life was thought about and created, and then it'd get destroyed. So that table was thought about in the mind, then it was created, right, in the physical, and one day that gets destroyed, and that's the cycle in life. And the trouble is with our thoughts is we can have past trauma, we can have disturbing thoughts, we can have stress, we can have certain things in our life which we don't know how to cope with because we're not taught. And what happens, these imbalances in the brain, these emotional charges that we hold on to, start to affect the behaviour of what's called glial cells in the body. And what happens is you have what's called the central nervous system, and the central nervous system sends impulses out to these glial cells, and it goes in different parts of the body. Wherever it's, whatever trauma you may be having, whether it's cancer or stress, that's the reason why you start to get these symptoms in the body, right? And you start to get these lumps come up and form, because what happens is the behaviour of the glial cells start to behave differently. They promote the growth. They start to reduce the promotion of white blood cells, so it allows the growth of toxic blood cells, and that's when infections start. But what happens is we decide to go to a doctor and mask it with this pill that does absolutely nothing, right? And then it gets worse and worse and worse because we're masking the pain.
We're not dealing with the
if we
cause.
If we just realise that symptoms are not a bad thing.
Disease, isn't it? Disease. If you're living with a diseased mind, then it's gonna find a way to manifest itself in the physical.
And it's doing that to try and to get you to listen, to go within.
But do you think, like, say for example, if I think a lot of illness and disease is based on trauma, but what people tend to do then is to sort of then buy into that, the ideal, like you say, with medication and all the rest of it, and that's how they then self-identify themselves. I'm a cancer patient, when in reality,
and then they confirm it.
My mum was diagnosed once, and her words to me was, "Don't care, this is going to be gone in next to no time." And when it was, the power of the mind is inconceivable when you actually, when you've got that level of self-awareness. But this is what the crux of it for me is, like, you're such a self-aware person. A lot of people don't even begin that journey.
No,
they don't. But like you say, I'm really encouraged by what you said about social media. Like, there is an evolution going on, an evolution of consciousness. I would certainly hope so.
Definitely,
anyway.
and it's certainly raising more awareness. And there's so much more information now. We're starting to get better food. Education's becoming better around food. About what we consume, and that makes a huge impact, because the way I see it, if you want to really become self-aware, if you're not fueling yourselves with the right fuel, then what you're actually doing is you're dulling yourself down. You're putting these foods in your body that are slowing, the actual chemicals in your body, your brain performance. So, the way I see it is, if I want to catch my thoughts and I want to be receptible and I want to process data and information, you want to make sure you're fueling yourself with the right foods. It's conscious eating. Condition. And we're also connected. The food, we are what we eat. So when we're eating, it's like when you eat plants, that have been farmed correctly, been grown correctly with organic soils and not been sprayed. You're processing that whole plant, the minerals, the sun, the purity, and you're absorbing everything of that. So what it's doing for the body is unbelievable.
Must be making,
we're made up
optimum levels rather than same tonight. But then I wonder then, the food that we are mass producing, is that a conscious decision by the powers that be to keep us down and to keep us dulled our senses, or is it just an idea that
do you know
we live in a convenient world?
I think it's cost cutting more than anything, isn't it?
To
make it on the cheap. It's like when you've got, where was I yesterday? I was at Southend and they still had polystyrene, and I was just thinking, in London you'd be frowned upon. People wouldn't shop here because you're still using, polystyrene, but it was the norm in Southend, and therefore, and it's just cost cutting. You know, it was just like fish and chips en masse.
Possible
do you know?
way
Yeah,
to
exactly. Do you know? But the quality of the product was just like questionable.
I think it's the system. I think it's the cost implications, and I think it's the lack of education as well around it.
I found it really interesting what you said about where you had dyslexia. You were shut off to the idea of being programmed. But that's what we talk about, isn't it? You are raised in school to get a job. That's it.
Yeah.
But you were just shut off to that whole programming. I find that fascinating. Like,
also, I wanted to talk about. So at 21, you had this experience. How was that? You know, being a 21-year-old at that time, you're probably going out partying, going down faces, getting your boat about. How is that received by your family and friends?
Yeah, it's hard because you feel like an alien because you're becoming conscious. Not only that is you're going out there setting a business up, so that in itself is breaking out the system. But then when you're becoming a conscious entrepreneur, it's even more out of the system because you know not only are you conscious and you're not conforming to societies or other people's ways of thinking or social idealisms. You know, you set this company up and you're taking action on that. So yeah, it can be hard. Like no one understands what you're doing and the reason why you're doing it. But it was a bit of a roller coaster. Like it's all part of the journey. Like there was ups, there was downs, there was, you know, because when I look back, I was found there was massive growth spurts I had, but then you'd drop back down because you'd feel like an alien and you want to fit in. You know, but then
especially in your 20s as well, where it's like you want to conform, you want to be like everyone else. You don't want to feel that, you know, alienation.
Totally, and then you know what I understand now is what you're doing is you're just caught up in the trap. You're just sedating, you know, drinking, going out, partying. You know, when you're aligned to your true core values and you're aligned to your mission, you know, when you look at the greats, the Elon Musks, the Richard Bransons, and you know all these other people, they're just so driven and they're not worried about going out. They're not worried about all these other things because they found their thing. They found what they love. They found what they want to do. So it's like Grant Cardone talks about. He talks about being obsessed. So to me, like obsession is something in your highest values. He's obsessed about his property. But then people will have opinions on that and say, oh, he's this, he's greedy. He don't spend enough time with his family. Like, you know, well, what's that all about? Like he's on his sole mission. That's not selfish. If you're in touch with your core values and you know what it is, why is that selfish? But there's so much dogma caught around that. Oh, you've got to have this work lifestyle balance. You've got to spend a certain amount of time with your kids and your friends and your family. No, you've just got to do what you want to do. What's in your highest values.
And I've just gone through that process myself. You know, I've just left an environment where I wasn't able to grow, and and it has been frowned upon because people don't understand it. Where I'm now living in my own place, in my own environment, on my own time zone, and I can hang out with whoever I want and do whatever I want, and it's not nobody can tell me anything. Do you know what I mean? So it's really interesting you said about Grant Cardone, where and you do have to get into your own head to a certain extent and please yourself, because without you being the best you for you, you can't be the best you for anyone else.
Exactly, and that's what becoming a leader is all about, right? And being a leader to me is mastering yourself, self-mastery, mastering your mind, right? Becoming self-aware, realising the thoughts, words and actions, what you're saying. Because if you want to be a true leader and you want to lead other people, how can you lead others if you can't even lead yourself here, where it all happens? And the way to do that is I gave a talk on this a little while ago at an event with Jennifer and Matt, and it was all about becoming self-aware, because when you start becoming self-aware, that's one of the first steps to self-mastery, and self-discovery and understanding who you truly are, and you start peeling back the layers and you understand why you're not doing certain things and you're held back in certain areas and what your voids are. And then the more self-aware you become, the more you're going to start changing, and the more people around you will say you've started to change, because what happens is, because you're changing, it makes them question themselves. It makes them question their decisions. So what happens is they will start projecting on you because you're making them feel uncomfortable.
That's exactly
so what happens is they start to
just
smile on his face.
Yeah, it's just like a mind blowing moment.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about your process, George? Because when I wake up in the morning, my default setting seems to be, oh, let's just be miserable. Let me be negative. That's my default mode. It takes a lot for me to I have to try and connect straight away and say can we get a little bit of help here? Let's open the window and try and get a little connection going. Is it the same for you, or you just wake up positive?
I used to be one of these positive thinkers all the time, and I don't recommend that. And what I mean by that is because if you're going out there trying to be positive every day and trying to it just doesn't happen like that. There's ups and downs, and you're gonna have negative thoughts. Before, I used to reject these negative thoughts. The more you reject them, you'll find the more bad stuff that happens, because you need to own that negative thought, lean into it, process it. Why are you thinking like that? Where's that coming from? In that subconscious thinking, where is it coming from? What's led to you thinking like that?
Such a level of self-awareness that you've got, and you really have. I think that's because if once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. So if you become aware that you need to be aware, you can't just suddenly forget to be aware, because you've opened the door.
No, that's it. Once you start
it's like being unplugged from the Matrix. Once you can't go back to that naivety.
Red pill.
It is. It's exactly that. And it's once you know. And you know you're responsible for your own reality. You can't go back to and then blaming everyone and say, oh, why is this happening to me? Because you know that you've attracted it at some level. Do you know what I mean?
Must have done.
Yeah. For anyone that wants to, probably listening to this and going, oh, I wish I could be more like that. Or where does one start to become more self-aware?
So we actually run a program, and so does Jennifer, and so does Matt within our course. So you can find out more information about that with us, and you can follow us on Instagram, and we put out loads of ways of becoming self-aware, but we've also got different programs within that can basically take the unconscious person through a rapid awakening, because it's all psychology, right? And it's about untangling these emotional charges, right? Because that's what we're living in. But the trouble is, no one wants to own their traits. No one wants to own their thinking like that. No one wants to own that situation happened because they created it.
It was their fault.
Yeah,
it was your fault.
It was your fault, and nobody wants to own it, and nobody can see both sides. Everything's one-sidedness all the time. And when you're living one-sided, you live in an unrealistic reality.
Half the story, isn't it?
Yeah. So the more self-aware you become, the more you're going to see both sides. The more you're going to keep an open mind about things. The less you'll put labels on. That helps your
relationship with other people as well. If you can see where they're coming from. Absolutely. For example, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were really shouting at me, getting really irate, and I thought, I can shout back and we're going to get absolutely nowhere here, or I can just listen and take it in and then slowly talk him down to the point where he goes, met him later, he goes, I'm so sorry about that. I'm like, it's fine. Because I understood where he was coming from. It had nothing to do with me, all about his own personal shit and all the rest of it. But in another lifetime, I would have given it back to him, and we would have just got nowhere. But that idea of being aware that there's just perception.
Yeah, it's becoming conscious and self-aware. And
so getting back to the point you were saying that nothing happens by coincidence, and that universally we're all here at this point in time for a particular reason.
As I was saying about the positive psychology and trying to be one-sided and be positive, it's just not realistic. You've got to find out what these stories that you're creating in your head, where is it coming from, and a big part of what you can do with that is you can use a method called quantum therapy.
So the idea is that because subconsciously it's buried so far underneath things that you're not even aware that these things are triggering you to act out in certain ways.
We're living in that program, aren't we? So 95% of the time we're living in a subconscious program, and that's been scientifically programmed. When you wake up, when you get up, when you brush your teeth, when you put your tie on, when you get in the car, when you do your day work, you're just living in this program because that's the way you've been. It's like you don't. But people are unaware of this. They're
unconscious. When people say same shit, different day. Do you know what I mean? It's just getting up and repeating. It's like Groundhog Day. Because we've got that conditioning, and it's just repeating the same processes.
So talking about quantum therapy, is it?
Yeah, and the way you crack that is one way. I mean, look, there's different ways. I mean, I've tried everything. I think nutrition is a huge part of it because you want your body performing right. I think meditation really helps. Exercise, journaling, yoga really helps because you start to get the mind, body, soul connection. You get everything connecting. You get everything working in harmony and balance. But you know, if you really want to go in deep and do the inner work, go and get your subconscious rewired using neuroplasticity. And it's just like, it's no different that using that computer over there and uploading it with a new program. Because what happens when a program in a computer gets slow,
software upgrade.
You want to update it.
Yeah, update the
so
software. What
happens is when you become self-aware, you're like, fuck, I'm living in I need an update. Do you know what I mean? So what you do so we have what's called a memory and an anti-memory, and these memories carry emotional charges, and what you want to do is you want to start to do the therapy to neutralise the emotional charge, and then the more you start to do that,
such an impact.
Yeah, and you'll find the inner chatter starts to stop, the inner turmoil in the head, the should I, the shouldn't I's, what should I do.
I think a lot of pain comes from like resistance as well. I think a lot of pain comes from resisting what is, do you know what I mean? Like if you get to a level of accepting that it is what it is, like you were saying earlier, good or bad, you can't those sort of things are not quantifiable because
there is no good,
it's all part of the matrix where you can't see 10 years down the road that thing that was terrible wasn't the best thing that ever happened to you.
Because all of the different, you know, you were talking about processing and stuff, and we were talking a little bit about it earlier about, you know, Scientology, for example, they call it auditing, and where they replay, you know, painful experiences until the point that it's desensitized, you know, and silencing that reactive mind, where Kabbalah they call it Satan, which is the devil. They say, you know, our souls are the angel and Satan is on the other shoulder, which is, you know, the devil. You know, the cartoons back in the day, and it's like, you know, there's two wolves living inside all of us. Which one wins? The one you feed. And it's like, you know, when you start to recognize, you know, that level of self-awareness of recognizing where it's your ego, the one that wants to shout and kick off and separate you and notice the differences, where our souls are like, I'm just like you, do you know what I mean? And to be able to...
What's your views on the ego? That's interesting.
So I believe you don't have an ego, but you have what's called a true ego. When you become your true self, I mean, because that whole ego thing, oh, you're not judging, you're not meant to do this, and you're meant to go out and do kind things, and oh, you know, that's your ego talking. No, like if you're fully empowered and you've done the work and you know who you truly are, and you want to speak out on something, and this is what being a leader is all about, that's your true ego talking. What happens is, you know, the people are not ready for that. The unconscious people will react in a certain way because you're making them question themselves.
Don't like that.
You
they
know?
don't like it.
So, you know, people don't like it, and you know, the more you do this work. I mean, for example, fear. For example, fear is just an illusion, right? And you'll notice this fear gets played out when you're not clear on something. When you have lack of knowledge in that area and you're not clear, you will gain fear, and it's to crack your fantasy. It's to crack that you've not got clear on something. So whether it's a business decision or whether it's a business opportunity, if you've not sat down and done your homework and gone through the facts, the statistics, the figures, the financial forecast, whatever it is, who you're working with, you know, what's their background, what's the cultural difference, then you're going to have uncertainty, and with that uncertainty you create fear. So if you just get clear, you know, the trouble is we don't want to get clear because for some reason we feel awkward, or we're not shown how to. Yeah. So the more work you do, the more clear you become, the more you're putting it out there in the quantum field. And that's why I highly recommend, you know, like journaling, or going home and refining your core business values every single day, your mission statement, protocol, system, strategies, culture, team building, refining it every single day. Who do you want to meet? How do you want to meet? And what business do you do? What do you want to carry out in the world? Doing it every single day, repetition, because what you're doing is you're uploading it to the subconscious mind. Right, and the more you upload
like affirmations, and that's how you...
affirmations one part. Affirmations
are repeating the same thing over and over, and that's really helped me.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to like change my relationship with food, change my relationship with exercise.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of my journey, and I was saying this, you know, I'm so thankful for my good health and well-being. I'm loving being more active and incorporating exercise into my life. I feel so much better for it.
Yeah.
Beginning of my journey, I loathed exercising. Yeah. Now I cannot live without running. Like for me, that like processing and swimming, processing, putting myself in that, where you have to be present. It's the ultimate mindfulness, because you have to concentrate on keeping your breath. You have to concentrate on trying not to die. Do you know what I mean? So you can't be thinking about all of these other things that are stressing you out. You have to be present. Do you know?
Yeah. And you know, and the more present you are, the more you can connect to source. And that's why you have these. You know, what's that? You know, the Joshua fight, and he fighted Ruiz. Now that goes against completely body sport science. Agree? You know, everyone was saying he's sponsored by Snickers, right? Right, and the reason why, and the science behind that, and what nobody understands, is it's his sheer belief and knowing in the subconscious mind. Because what I was saying before, going back to glial cells, how they behave differently in the body, he's playing out the story. He knows whatever happens, it doesn't matter about your weight or your cardiovascular system, because he knows deep down, and when you know, you put it out there to the quantum field. So what happens is, in the universe you have two complementary opposites, right? And it's quantum entanglement. And when you get clear, these two atoms, which are us, which is everything in this physical reality, come closer when you start to get clear. So you attract the circumstance and situation. And that's how it happens. So
it's like the law of attraction.
It's like law of attraction, but
that's on a scientific rather than it being
So for me, a big thing for me is I wanted to understand the science behind everything, because I didn't want to get into it. I couldn't stand for it just being hearsay. I wanted to know, well, what's the reason that's happening? What's the reason?
And it's great that you've taken it to those lengths. You know, because some people read The Secret and then be like, adopt it and say, oh well, I'm going to do it. Where you'll be like, but why? You know, and then you've taken it that much, you know, that deeper.
So I mean, and there are people out there that are successful and they actually do this unconsciously. They don't realise what they're doing, but they've had, you know, whatever experience in their life, and they just seem to have had that program uploaded where they're able to have a really strong belief system and they're able to connect to source. Because when you're doing something that's in your highest values and you're doing it every day and you're putting it out there and you're refining it, you will start to connect to source. You'll start to get these ideas, these downloads. You know, what these visionaries have. These, like Elon Musk. I mean, look what he's doing. Like, he's trying to colonise Mars. You know, I think there's so much going on in the world that we forget about. You know, like he's flying rocket ships to Mars and, like, you know, putting Teslas out in space, and he wants to colonise Mars and he wants to create. You know, everything's dramatically changing and it's getting disrupted. You know, all these different.
And it takes a guy like him to come around. You know, didn't he just
pioneer?
He just solved or tried to solve the traffic problem in LA
with the underground.
And it's just like, it takes that level of thinking and somebody ballsy enough to do it, of that certainty of, you know, and knowing that he's got the you know.
But the same again, if you look at Elon Musk's history, what you'll see is he's an engineer and he's consumed himself with knowledge. And when you start breaking down, like how I do, the science of it, and you start to understand the knowledge of he knows how to put things together. But when you know how to put things together in here, it takes manifestation and takes forms in the physical. Once you get clear up there, the universe has to deliver. Once you get clear on it, it's got no choice. The same as if you're creating a bad thought, or you want to fight and you're thinking you're stressed, you attract that person in the road or in the car when you're driving. You have that fight.
Absolutely.
And you know, and that's what Elon Musk is doing. He's an engineer, and you know, he's a genius, and he knows how things work. So that's what he's actually connecting to. Whether he's aware of it or not, I think he actually speaks about being in simulations and programs, and you know, I'm sure he is aware of it, what happens on a quantum field. But you know, you can literally create your own reality.
So interesting, this coming at this time. I'm off to see Abraham Hicks on the weekend, so this is like the perfect precursor for it, because you're talking about all of the stuff that I'm obviously going to learn. And
I mean, look, all this stuff is great.
She calls it the vortex.
Yeah, the vortex, Abraham. I love it all. I think it's great, but the thing is, what I've found with all these people, these meditation techniques, yoga, health, nutrition, you know, that's all well and good, but at the end of the day, you've still got that subconscious program, and then memories need neutralizing. And as long as you have that, that will always stop you from transcending and moving forward.
So back to the quantum therapy. You think it's tell me a little bit more about that. Is that what on the back? Is that more like, because I'm imagining some hypnosis kind of where you go into a state and you're ready to be desensitized. Is it anything like that?
You'll get put into a certain state, but first of all, there's various discovery work that goes on, and you basically your subconscious gets probed into, and you start
talking about your past
and understanding, and then you have to do a lot of writing and a lot of discovery and find out what you're actually holding on to, and then you've got to own it, and then it's like peering.
Even that's just a process of becoming aware, isn't it? I mean, like until you start talking. I've been to therapy before. Until you start talking, you didn't even realise those issues were.
But the trouble is,
there. Do you know what I mean?
There's different people doing this therapy out there, and they're not asking the right questions. They need to ask the right questions so you can answer the right answers internally, because no one knows how to nooch. There's only few and far people that I've come across that can scientifically rewire your brain using neuroplasticity,
themselves.
And going through certain logical questions and orders to get you to become self-aware, see both sides, and understand that what was actually seen as a trauma or a bad or a death or a bad situation at the time is all it's ever trying to do is just get you to a place of understanding and balance. And what you thought was bad was never good, but was always only trying to get you back into balance.
It's the same in terms of like questioning your parents and what happened with your parents, and you have to get to that point where you understand that they did the best that they could do with what they knew at that time. Do you know what I mean? And it's about forgiveness, I suppose.
Again, it's that level of awareness,
forgiving yourself. But you have to have that level of awareness, don't you? If you want to grow. Otherwise, come across so many people that are angry and in pain, and then that's all they're ever going to be, because they're looking on the outside. I'm going to blame him. I'm going to blame you. But unless you look at your own part in it, you're never going to be able to, transcend that. You're always going to keep experiencing that shit.
That's it. And if you can really now pin down and find someone that's good at that and starts to untangle them emotional charges, them imbalanced perceptions of what you have in the mind, that's when you start to become your true authentic self, and that's when people start to have these profound realizations about what they actually want to do in life and who they want to become, and all of a sudden your whole lifestyle starts changing, the people, the places, the circumstances. And I think when you're doing this work and you're doing this rapid rate of growth,
talking my life, my whole,
honestly,
all of my friends.
This is what I've been going through recently. There are no coincidences.
Environment is key. If you're not putting yourself around the right people that support this sort of growth, and you're not in a safe psychological safety environment where you can talk openly about this, truthfully, you will not do the growth. You will not do the work. It will stunt your growth. Because we have what's called mirror neurons, right? And when there's psychological safety, you down-regulate cortisol and you turn on oxytocin, which is a bonding agent. So you feel more comfortable. You're actually making an emotional connection, and you're more open to tell that person what you're truly thinking within, right? And that's all about being raw and authentic and digging in, doing the work. And when you're being raw and you're speaking about your situation, that person is then, it gives them the strength
and also permission to talk about their stuff.
You say vulnerability is a superpower.
100%.
Well, to a degree, there's being vulnerable and there's being unprepared. So when people go, I'm just going to go on stage and I'm just going to be vulnerable, like, I would read a lot of books before I got on stage, because I want to be prepared. I'll be authentic, I'll be raw, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to go upstairs and just, people think being vulnerable, like, you still got to do that work, like, you still got to, repay, like, if I'm going up on stage and I'm talking, like, I'll read, books, and I'll get prepared, and I'll read and consume as much information I can.
I think Gav said before when we was out there, where preparation meets opportunity, so you have to be prepared for the opportunity to come along, otherwise you're not going to give the best account of yourself, are you? It's all well and good having the opportunity, but you've got to make sure that you're on the right path.
You were speaking about, the mindset of a lot of successful people, and recently you've had the opportunity to meet some. Tell me a little bit about that, because I've seen recently you met Grant Cardone. You've already mentioned. What was it like meeting him?
Yeah, his energy is just amazing, isn't he? And he's,
and Elena as well, right?
Yeah.
She's I mean, they're real, like,
They're a power couple, aren't they? They're amazing, and the work they're putting out and their whole mindset.
They're so lucky to find, a partner that's got that same kind of drive and.
But they've done their work, in Scientology, which is another way of doing it, another way of doing this deep inner work and doing the therapy and realizing and breaking down what's holding you back, because there's so much that we conform to on a daily basis. Oh, that's not a good idea. Skepticism around that, and you shouldn't do that. And money worries and issues and all this sort of stuff, and that's why getting around the people, like I was saying, is so important. Your environment and another thing as well. One of the reasons why you've got your Googles and you've got your Amazons and what they've done is they've created an environment where there's psychological safety, where people can communicate and they feel open to one another to create. Because we're creators, we're here to create. Yeah. But if people are living in fear and they don't really want to say what they do, they've actually got a policy in Amazon, and you have to say yes to everything. Wow. Right? And if you say no to whatever it may be, whoever says no within the company, you have to write like a 3-page essay on it why you don't want it to happen. So everything, people are coming up with these creative, spontaneous, inspired ideas, and that's the reason why the company's got that sort of growth.
But so many people would be prepared to just poo-poo an idea for the sake of poo-pooing it. No, I don't like change. I want things to stay exactly how they are. But life is transient. It's always changing.
Exactly.
So I find it quite interesting. Like, if you're going to say no, that's what we always used to say. If you say no, bring a better idea or a different idea. You can't just say no. If someone has an idea, don't shoot them down and just go, no, I'm not doing that. No. Bring an alternative, and then we'll discuss it from there. I find that quite fascinating. There's a reason why these companies are as successful as they are.
That's it. And like, as I was saying, it goes back to a science and psychology. And the brain is the main thing that runs all this. And when you get that subconscious cleaned, you find out that you'll get more in touch with your spirit, you'll get more in touch with your body, or you'll get in touch more with your soul, and that's when you transcend, and that's when you start to have these profound, situations where your business is thriving, and that's because you've got clear on your values and what you want to do, and you understand that it's not actually about the money, because the money is only just a byproduct of what you're doing. So whatever you're putting out there is a result of you. So if you're connecting with the wrong people and you're not doing that you really want to do, that'll only get you so far. You might be good at business, you might be able to dig your heels in and grind away, but you're always going to get to the end and just feel that lack of fulfillment. Whereas, like, if you step back and take a good look at what you really want to do, and ask yourself the question, if there was no such, well, there is no such thing as fear, but for people that believe that, tell yourself that there's no such thing as fear. And if money was no issue, what would you really do? What would you say one of the things that you're really searching for in this world?
It's fulfillment, and for me, I was talking to Bobby before we came on, about how well I'm doing at work, and even on the weekends, I'm driven to, because I want to help other people succeed. And when you've got a desire to help other people succeed, and you want other people to be the best versions of themselves, then your work is never done. But two, I can happily start doing work emails on a Saturday. I never think, I'll do that on Monday. It's just my nature to then just do what I can when I can, not be, I'll wait until Saturday to do that, because I can work from my phone. It's like opening another app, going into Gmail rather than mail, and just start penning an email, and arranging an interview, for example. So one of my missions, that's like in my work, on a grander scale, it is like yourself to allow more people to become more in touch with their true self, to increase, self, because I think this stuff should be taught in schools.
Well, that's it. And I think that's another main thing that a friend of mine, Jennifer, and I've also got a massive passion for it as well, that she wants to disrupt, and and I want to see a huge change in as well, is the schooling system, because it's just completely unconscious. Everybody thinks you know, when you go to school and you come out and you're this grade A student, you're successful, but all you've done is been taught how to memorise a load of books that's just layers upon information.
Yeah.
Now, knowledge is good, but it's limited, right? Einstein believes that imagination and creativity was more important.
Oh,
because the information we've got now is limited to a certain degree, whereas if you use creativity and imagination, that's where you can break the barriers and go beyond.
You become a channel rather than limited vessel.
It. Yeah, and that's what it is, and that's what you're tuning into. You're tuning into this creation of life.
Wow.
This creative essence.
Who else have you met recently? I saw you was out with Ty Lopez. What was that experience like?
Ty Lopez was pretty cool. He's a cool guy. Yeah. He's very grounded with business, very aware.
So he's got mentor box, hasn't he?
He's got mentor box. Yeah.
That looks really good. Where I think he has authors of books. Do like a half an hour lesson. So for people that find it difficult to read whole books, for example, you can, I think it's like a subscription service.
He's shortcutted the whole process, which is really good, because when I was on my journey doing all this research and knowledge, I mean, what he's done is he's took the best bits, the real stuff you really need to know, and condensed it and used, and you're utilising your time better, and you're knowing what you really want to hear. You're processing that. So.
Who else have you met recently? Who's the doctor?
Dr. Demartini.
He's your favourite.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, he's a fantastic guy. Very, very profound. His work's incredible. He's really, really good. There's other people out there that I follow as well to do with consciousness of mind, which is Bruce Lipton.
Oh, he's fantastic. You went to see him as well recently, didn't you? I think back in October.
Yeah, and I also went to see Graham Hancock, another guy that was really, really good.
Yeah.
Talks about like archaeology and our past history.
Yeah, I watched him with Joe Rogan. It's one of the most profound interviews I've ever watched.
Yeah. So it is. It's really good. But all of them people are just they're totally zoned in. They're totally on this journey of self-discovery, understanding consciousness. I mean, for me, I like Grant Cardone's one of my favourite, because he's connected with his spirit. He's done the inner work, and he's just on this soul journey. And he just I love his way with people. Like he just verbally bashes you, not out of a bad place, but he knows he's just telling you, and that's what being authentic and standing in your power is all about. Because when you know yourself, you speak with conviction. When you speak with conviction, these words carry energy. That's why he has such an impact with people. Because when he talks, he's like, well, you got to do this and you got to do this, and he knows, because he's done the work. He knows the reason why you're not doing that. He knows what you're creating, your limitations. Fear, what's holding you back, past trauma. Your mum and dad said you weren't good enough, or whatever it may be for some people. Yeah, and how has it come about you to meet all of these people? Just, I think, as I said, I'm getting clearer. I mean, power is proximity, and it's about putting yourself in a position where you can meet these people and spend time with these people and understand. And the more you, as I said, environment's everything, and your culture's everything, and the more you can get around and surround yourself with these people and understand that, if you want that life, it's totally achievable. It's what you create in the mind, and the more you get around these circles and you hear their stories, you start to understand, how it's achievable and how to go about it. Yeah. And the more you spend your time with these people, you just see that, it's all this big part, this process of becoming. Yeah, I bet, and I bet you probably think, well, if them, why not me? Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, you're not a million miles from each other, and totally. And I think I think America's a great place. Like the mentality of people over there with the mindset and what they do is just fantastic. I mean, that's why that's why that country is the way it is. There's just full of such visionaries and big ideas. Just a lot of people do take action over there, and they do break out the system. Yeah. And is there anyone within the UK, apart from, I guess, Graham Hancock, who you've already mentioned, and of course yourselves, who are looking to break through? Who else would you recommend, kind of in that kind of space? Is there anyone within the UK that you think is? I mean, for me, it's Dean Martini. I mean, I love his work. He's got a good, and you go into a bit of it where it's just totally focused on economics, and you just study that, and you just study the understanding of how business works. So you've got a clear understanding, because that's another thing we don't get taught. And also we get taught the rubbish of economics. The skepticism of economics. No, what's the real economics? Get clear on what your core values is, and then put a business strategy behind it, and then refine it, get clear on it, take action on it, and work at it. And embrace the support and challenge of what you get. Like, you're gonna have shit days, but if you don't have them shit days, you're never gonna grow.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly supported all the time, then you never. When you do have a challenge and it hits you, you don't know how to deal with it. So you need to embrace the growth. So he believes, and it's quantum entanglement, that wherever you're challenged, you're supported at the same time. Wherever you're supported, you're also challenged at the same time.
Okay.
Right, immediately. Right, it's quantum entanglement.
Amazing.
And it has to work like that, because it's the laws of quantum physics, it's the laws of the universe. And this is what becoming self-aware is all about. Like, it's quite funny being self-aware, because you can, as someone's challenged me, I can actually see where the support is coming from at the same time, and all of a sudden I'll get a phone call and I'll be like, whoa, like I get it now, like I get this. This is what becoming self-aware is all about, and self-mastery. Like, you're seeing everything plan out, you're seeing everything.
You're open to cues and signs as well, and those things that you need to do. I had a scenario the other day where a mate was struggling, right? And I sent him this long old text about the universe and purpose and all these things, and randomly my mum came home the next day. She had this little book, and it was about this woman's conversation. Well, she'll ask a question, and whatever she heard in her mind, she would note down. And I'll tell you what, every page I turned to was exactly what I sent the dude the night before, and I'm like, that's affirmation for me that I'm telling the truth and that I'm trying to do the right thing. And I wanted to talk to you about, George. You said about action. You're quite big on action, aren't you? Because you were saying it's all well and good knowing things, but it's actually having the gumption to take action.
And executing it. So, but as I said before, that's why I say refining and getting clear is so important, because when you're clear and you know how and you set the intention, then you take action, right? So get clear, set the intention, take action.
So you
get
bring
clear
up the
on
confidence levels enough to actually know that you know what you're doing.
It's also happening on a quantum scale, isn't it? So, and it's also the subconscious mind. It's the belief system. So some people call it confidence. I call it belief or knowing. Like, when you're so clear on your core values and you're aligned, you know what your sole purpose is. No one can't tell you anything.
So you spoke a lot about value, and you asked me, what my highest value was. Where does one even start with that? I mean, what kind of thing would you recommend? How does somebody find out what their values are, and what kind of things can they do to kind of start to map out their life?
You need to sit down with a pen and a paper and start, itemising and getting clear on what you really want to do. And and a lot of people don't do that, because when you do try and sit down and get clear, you've got all this inner turmoil going on, and that's when the judgment starts to creep up, the inner chatter, and you're trying to read down, and you'll find yourself, as you're writing these, it's a natural mechanism for things to start throwing up in the mind, and you'll be like, could I really do that, or would my family approve, or oh no, I don't know if I could do that, or oh no, that's not me, that'd never work out, like all this skepticism thought that's injected into you. So that is actually a process of starting to rewire your thinking. So that's the trouble, is a lot of people go out there and they're doing good, which is great, but they're not clear on how they want to do it, and they've not even sat down and done the written work. And that's okay, because we're not taught how to, but I'd highly recommend sit down and writing down what you really want to do, whether it may be, whether you just want to go to the moon, if you want to create your own rocket ship, however big or small you want it to be, sit down and write it out and get clear on it. And it's
so
about
literally to just journal it.
There's different, whatever feels more comfortable to you. I do journal.
What about a vision board?
A vision board's good.
A lot of people put stuff up, for example. I mean, this is kind of like a vision board. A lot of these are like memories rather than what I want to achieve. But I've got like a vision board that I have on my iPhone and my iPad, and of what I want to achieve ultimately.
So and obviously images transmit 100 times word faster.
That's how we see, right?
So that's how we see. So So yeah,
not only like visually, but like if you close your eyes and you picture something, that's how.
That's it.
And then that's kind of
that's creating it. You're putting it out there.
Amazing.
But you still need to get like this. Is people get a bit caught up in them vision boards, and they think if I look at them long enough, and you know,
it will just come to me.
Like, it don't work like that. Like, you know, you've got to sit down and do, you know, find out what you truly want to do, and then once you find out that, wrap a business plan around it. You know, get clear on who you want to go out, who you want to serve. You know, how you're going to make the money. You know, people need to get clear on the money and start owning how much they want to earn. If you want to earn 50 million, if you want to earn 100 grand, if you want to earn $1 billion, like whatever you want to earn, like that's fine. But just find out what you want to do and then wrap a business plan around that, and then, you know, take action on it. Yeah,
and that comes back because you had like a mini plan of taking action. Set the intention.
Get clear. Sit down. Write the plan. Yeah. You're setting the intention and then take action on it, and then just go after it like a maniac. And then you'll find out is when you're going around your day-to-day business and, you know, you're going to get the naysayers and the people that project on you because you're trying to do something different and you're making them question their actions and their way of thinking. So they're saying, "Oh, that won't work." Yeah. Then you know, and you start to understand that, like, it's okay for them to do that. They don't understand. They're not conscious. So you know, but you'll find if you've got clear on paper when they're trying to project on you, you're like, well, no, because I've sat down, I know this, I've got clear, I know my strategy, I know how I'm moving forward, this is going to work. Do you know what I mean? Like
having that certainty, no room for doubt. You know, and that's what I've said, and people keep asking me, it's like, what are you doing? And I say, ask me in 6 years. I know 100% that I'm going to be successful. And at the moment, I'm, you know, and it's just like knowing that you're going to get there, but being adaptable and how you get there.
I enjoyed the thing you posted up the other day. How often do you see butterflies knocking about with caterpillars? It's true though, isn't it? You can't argue with that, man. So, like we were saying, once you become aware of something, you can't then become unaware of it.
No, it's painful. It's environment.
It's quite interesting what you're saying about people will try and shoot you down, like, because how they identify themselves. That's all that is. That like, you have people that I've got to be right. I've got to be right. Until you sit there and say to them, why do you always have to be right? And they go,
of course, people find it really hard to take responsibility for their actions, you know, and that's been massive for me, is to be able to hold your hands up and say, and mop up the milk, do you know, if you spill the milk, mop it up, do you know what I mean? Where other people will deny they even made a mess in the first place.
It was you that spilled the milk, not me.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're pointing the finger, really you're pointing back at you. Cool, well let's wrap up with some quickfire questions, George. So what's the best event you've been to, personal development?
Martini.
Yeah. Why?
Definitely. Because as I said before, like his work and the scientific background that he comes from is just incredible. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, he's probably been one of my favourite teachers about that, and obviously Grant Cardone's really good as well.
Fantastic.
So,
most interesting person you ever met?
I'd say Dean Martini.
Yeah, good.
I really would. The shamans were really cool.
I bet that was profound.
Yeah, that was incredible. Like to actually go beyond the realm of the five senses and leave his physical body. Yeah, that was incredible. That was an experience. So yeah, they were pretty cool people to go out and meet the tribe and actually be surrounded in the Amazon, in the jungle,
living
with these people.
They live a life completely different. Without corporations and capitalism. It must just be such a enlightening experience.
Totally.
Cool. Oasis or Blur?
Oasis.
Beatles or Stones?
Beatles.
Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon.
Black or white?
White.
Looks or personality?
Both. I want both. I know my values.
Spurs or Arsenal?
Arsenal.
City or United?
City.
New York or LA?
LA.
Gary V or Grant Cardone?
Grant Cardone.
Positive or negative?
Both.
Love or fear?
Both.
Peace or war?
Well, peace doesn't actually exist, and that's another thing. Like, there's no such thing as peace in quantum entanglement. So there's a lot of language that I've rewired. And do you actually know that passion, when people go, you've got to be passionate about something, you know what passion actually means?
No.
It means to suffer.
Really?
Yeah. This is what when you're I've got to be compassionate, it means, people don't actually know the meaning behind these words, so it's quite interesting. So there's a couple of things that I've changed. I don't say peace, I say harmony. Harmony, when saying harmony.
I've been saying harmony a lot of late. Yeah. Then coming out with
people go like, oh, I want peace and quiet. Like, you're looking for one side in this again. Remember the support and challenge. That support and challenge.
Yeah, I really recognise now that I need quiet time. That I need to be away from it. So yesterday, for example, went down to Southend. It's like mental. Do you know what I mean? Fish and chips, seagulls, loads of people. I was like, coming back on the train, I cannot wait to get home, and I really start to recognise my needs of like, I need to
recharge when you're
I do, and like hence why where I wake up so early, but I need to be in bed like 9 o'clock. Anyone texts me after 9 o'clock, I'm not coming back to you. Like, it's just that's my thing for me. Do you know what I mean? And I recognise for me to operate at my best, to get enough sleep, enough rest, and man. But thanks for the education, George.
It's been a pleasure.
Where can people check you out?
So you can follow me on Instagram. I imagine you'll put this up, so you can put a link up. People can follow me on there. I'm always putting loads of cool stuff up about consciousness and business, and you can sort of follow me. I'm always flying around here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah. Do you create a lot of content?
I'm starting to do more as I go on. It's just for me, I'm trying to get super focused on my business first, and I'm really trying to get the branding. Is just I don't ever want to be. I got to a point where I was too consumed with it, so it was taken up because it is quite time consuming. So at the moment, I'm just going to let it play out. So I do a fair bit, but I'm just so super focused on work. I'm always in and out of meetings. I'm always on the phone. I've just got to try and.
And because I know you did the upgraded life event recently. When's the next one?
So there is another one coming up. I don't know when we've set the date for that.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely put that up.
So people can check out your page.
Yeah, or I'll drop it on the video that you put up on this, or drop it in the link. Or I'm sure you two drop it out, and I'm sure you two will come as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I was gutted to have to miss the last one.
So,
thanks for coming in, George. And as I said, thanks for the education, man. I've learned a lot.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope